All right, now that we've learned a little bit about scatter plots and what they are, we're ready to start creating scatter plots. So this is on the second part of your notes, the second page or the back, depending on how you printed it. And we're ready to look at some data that was collected. So as we look through here, we see that students 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 students were asked 2 questions. They were asked how many hours they spend on its learning, and they were asked what their math average is. Okay, so they were asked 2 questions. They were asked bivariate data. All right, so using this, we are going to take it and put it on this graph over here. Now, this graph is already created. It's on your paper. If you didn't print, you can just make your own little graph to the side. You don't have to write the entire table. Just make a little graph. On the x-axis down here, we have 1 through 6. These are the hours spent on its learning. And on the y-axis up here, we have math averages. It skips up to 40 and then goes by tens to 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. And that's common with graphs when you don't need the numbers at the very beginning, but you need to make sure you see that when you're doing it. So you're just going to take your pencil and you're going to start with student 1. They spent 5 hours on its learning, and their math average is a 95. So you go over to 5 hours on its learning, go up to a 95 on the y-axis, which will be right here, and you put your first point. Can you see that? I'm having to do it with the mouse today. All right, and then you keep doing it. Then you do student 2. They spent 1 hour on its learning, and they only have a math average of a 70. So you'd go over to 1 hour on its learning, go up to 70, and draw a point to represent student number 2. So each point on your graph represents a person you asked, one piece of data, but the answer is 2 questions. So this point right here represents the student that studied was on its learning for 5 hours and has an average of a 95. So this dot is representing one kid that gave me 2 answers, where this dot represents a student that will only spend an hour on its learning and has a 70. Okay, so you can kind of see that by the time you're done, how many points should you have? Well, you should have 10 because there's 10 students that were asked. You'll have 10 points. So go ahead and create this graph, and then we're going to go over the answers. We're going to check it with me, and we'll go over the answers of what goes in the blanks. All right, so go ahead and pause the video and do that, and when you're finished, press play. All right, I'm going to go on to the solutions. Your graph should look like mine. There it is with all the points on it. And then I'm just going to drag over the correct answer from over here. Okay, so starting with it says the solution. The scatter plot shows a blank association. So we got to pick 2 words over here. What type of association? So first let's look at it. Which way does it seem to be going? It seems to be going uphill. So uphill means that it is positive. And then would it be linear or would it be nonlinear? It would be linear. So a linear, oh, that didn't work, did it? Let's see if I can move it this way. So a linear positive association. Let's see if this one works. You can just fill it in, a linear positive association, and the data indicate that as the hours on its learning blank, the math average is blank. So remember, positive means as the hours on its learning, that's our x-axis, what's happening to the hours on its learning from left to right, as they increase, what happens to the math averages? Seems like as its learning hours increases, the math averages also increases, so that's why it was positive. As x increases, y increases. So as hours on its learning increases, the math averages also increase.